Welcome to Rising Parent, your go-to podcast for unleashing your child's inner artist. I'm your host, Vanessa, and I'm here to help you spark creativity and ignite imagination. But first, please subscribe to our podcast. It helps us to provide valuable content that will support you on your parenting journey. In this episode, Tim and Edna will be diving deep into the world of art, music, and hands-on activities. Discover the incredible benefits of fostering creativity in your child, from boosting emotional development to sharpening problem-solving skills. So, grab your favorite beverage and get ready to unleash your child's inner artist.
Hey everyone, ready for a really fun deep dive? Today we're tackling how to encourage creativity in kids. And you guys know this is something I'm super passionate about.
Absolutely. It's such an important topic.
So we've got a really interesting mix of sources for this deep dive. We've got advice straight from an actual school, the American Heritage School.
Oh, cool.
Some research from, get this, a toy company called Fiesta Crafts.
Interesting.
And then this FAQ summary that covers, all the big questions parents have, kind of hits those anxieties head on.
Yeah, those FAQs can be gold mines.
Totally. So before we get into the nitty-gritty, anyone listening, what's the overall vibe here?
Well, one of the things that struck me is how much these sources actually agree on. It's not about turning every kid into, the next Mozart.
Right. Though I wouldn't complain.
Exactly. It's about giving them skills that are valuable no matter what path they take in life.
I love that. And you know what's wild? Fiesta Crafts, the toy company, they cited this study that found 7-year-olds who show strong creative skills, they actually end up earning more money as adults.
Wow. 7 years old.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
I know. Isn't that something?
It really drives home the point that this isn't just playtime, it's brain building that has a lasting impact.
Absolutely. And it's funny because I think sometimes we can forget that kids are already naturally creative.
Oh, for sure. They are.
They're constantly coming up with these amazing stories and ideas. Our job is just to make sure we're not, accidentally squashing that.
Yes, exactly. It's about nurturing that spark, giving them the space and the tools to really let their imaginations run wild.
So how do we do that? That's the million-dollar question, right?
Well, it's definitely more than just handing them a box of crayons and saying, go for it. Although, don't get me wrong, a good set of crayons can go a long way.
Totally.
But it's really about understanding the why behind it all. Why is creativity important? And once we get that, then we can start talking about the practical stuff.
And that's where the American Heritage School article comes in, right?
Yes. They have some really great practical tips.
Yeah, that we really get into the specifics of what parents and teachers can do.
And one thing that I found super interesting is that they don't just talk about art or music when they talk about creativity.
Oh, interesting. What else do they focus on?
Well, they talk about it as problem solving, self-expression, building confidence. It's like this fundamental skill set that impacts so many different areas of life.
Wow, I love that. And it makes total sense when you think about it, right?
It really does. It all stems from that same creative energy.
So creativity, right? It's like this hidden superpower, and we want to make sure these kids can actually, use it, right?
Absolutely. It's not something that just, poof, appears out of nowhere.
Right. So the American Heritage School, they're big on this idea of having an actual creative space.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. But, not everyone has room for a whole art studio, right?
No, for sure, for sure.
So what do they suggest?
Well, they emphasize that it doesn't have to be anything fancy.
Okay, good point.
It could be like a corner in their bedroom,
Oh, I like that.
or even just a spot in the living room. The point is to have this designated area where they can get messy, experiment, let their imaginations go wild.
Yeah. Without worrying about, ruining the rug.
Right.
Been there. And you know what else they talk about? Engaging all the senses.
Oh, that's great.
Not just, the obvious ones like touching paint or whatever.
Yeah,
They're talking about getting those kids out in the world.
exactly. It's about those multisensory experiences. Taking them to the zoo, for a walk in the park, exploring a museum, all those things that stimulate their senses and get those creative juices flowing.
It's like their senses are taking notes or something.
Yeah.
And this actually ties in perfectly with Fiesta Crafts, the toy company. They are all about open-ended play.
Oh, open-ended play. It's so important.
I know, right? And both sources really emphasize it, but Fiesta Crafts, they really dig into the why.
And I think this is where it gets really interesting. It's not just about giving a kid a toy, it's about giving them a tool to unlock their imagination.
Oh, I like that.
Things like blocks, puppets, clay, those classic toys. They encourage kids to direct their own play. There's no right or wrong way to use them, and that's huge for their development.
Totally. It's like the difference between giving a kid a coloring book versus a blank canvas and a rainbow of paints.
Exactly. With open-ended play, they're not just following instructions, they're creating their own worlds, their own rules. And that does wonders for their problem-solving skills, their confidence. It's incredible.
It's like they become the authors of their own playtime, which is so important for their development. But you know what's interesting? Both sources, they also offer some cautionary advice.
Oh, like what?
Well, Fiesta Crafts, they talk about the potential downsides of, get this, overpraising every little thing a kid creates.
Oh, that's interesting. It seems counterintuitive, right?
I know.
Yeah.
Like, shouldn't we be encouraging our kids?
We should, absolutely. But it's more about the type of praise we're giving.
Okay, so, like, how's that work?
Constantly telling a child, oh, that's amazing, or that's perfect for everything they do. Well, it can actually backfire.
Really?
Because then they might become afraid to try new things, to experiment, because they don't want to risk not being perfect anymore.
Oh, that makes sense. It's like we accidentally take away that freedom to just, like, explore and maybe even mess up a little.
Exactly. So instead of praising the outcome, like the drawing itself, we can focus on praising their effort, their process, like, wow, look at all the colors you used, or I love how you used your imagination to create that character.
It's like we're acknowledging the thought and the effort behind their creation, not just the finished product.
Precisely. And you know what else can stifle that creativity? Being overscheduled. The American Heritage School, they talk about this.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
So important. Unstructured time is where it's at.
It's true. We tack their schedules so full sometimes that they don't have time to just be kids and like let their minds wander.
Right. And honestly, those unscheduled moments, those are often where the magic happens. When they can daydream, tinker, experiment, that's when those aha moments tend to pop up.
Totally. Without even realizing they're being creative, they are.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got to talk about the elephant in the room, especially these days.
Ooh, what's that?
Technology. It's everywhere, right?
It really is.
So how do we balance that, Because on the one hand, it can be super useful, but on the other hand, distraction city.
It's a real dilemma for parents. But thankfully, our sources actually had some good stuff to say about it.
Okay, good, because I was going to say, like banning screens completely, not realistic.
Yeah, no, they weren't saying that. It's more about being intentional.
Okay, that I can get behind.
So instead of just saying no to all tech all the time, it's about finding ways to use it thoughtfully.
So like what would that look like?
Well, the FAQs gave some good examples. Digital art programs, for one.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Music creation software, even coding platforms. It's all about them being creators, not just consumers.
Oh, I love that. Instead of just like passively watching videos, they're actually making stuff.
Exactly. And what I thought was really cool, the FAQs also had some really insightful questions that we can be asking our kids.
Oh, to get them thinking about their own creativity.
Yes, like instead of just saying, what did you draw? We can ask things like, what inspired you to create this?
Oh, I like that. It's like we're validating their process.
Exactly. Or what was the most challenging part of bringing your idea to life? Stuff like that.
It's like we're giving them the words to describe their own creativity, which I think is so important.
It really is. And it shows them that we value their creative process, not just the end result.
Okay, so we covered a lot today. Creativity. It's kind of a big deal. But it doesn't have to be this overwhelming thing, right?
Exactly.
Like we don't have to turn our homes into art studios overnight. It's more about being mindful, encouraging those sparks of imagination when we see them.
Exactly. And remembering that it's the little things that often make the biggest difference, just like those little ones in our lives.
Oh, love that. Well said. All right, everyone, that's it for our deep dive today. Go forth and be creative.
And that's a wrap. We hope this episode has inspired you to unleash your child's inner artist. Remember, creativity is a powerful tool for self-expression and personal growth. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast for more expert advice on parenting and child development. We'll be back soon with more exciting episodes to help you navigate your parenting journey. Until next time, happy creating.